Wow, good crowd.
Yeah, this room is big.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are excited to get into Figma Sites.
Oof, I'll leave you with that one.
Okay. Now I know where we're at. All right, hi, my name's Adam. I lead product for Sites. With me is Anthony from our advocacy team, and we're super excited to share Sites with you. I'm going to give you a little bit of background before we sort of jump into the demos about sort of how we got here. I'm going to go really way back. You'll probably see this tagline, publish your designs on the web. Seems so very simple, right? It's so simple that people have been actually promising that since, I don't know, the dawn of the internet. The first tool that I used was in 1996, and it promised this exact same thing. You have this canvas, I could design whatever I want, I could hit publish, and it would go out. Needless to say, back then, even though the web was a much more simpler place, the tools kind of fell pretty short. Over a lot of years, many other tools have come along and made this exact same promise and probably not really gotten there. I came a little bit jaded about the whole idea. Like, is it even possible to have like an expressive, creative canvas and then just magically have that get out to the web? Well, if there was anybody who was going to be able to do it, it's going to be the Figma engineers. And there's a sort of like, hold my milkshake moment. We're going to try to figure this out. So what started as an idea to just add a publish button to Figma design quickly evolved. Nothing's really ever as easy as just like add the magic button. To produce like the right output for the web, we realized we're going to need to start to bring tools in that allow designers to think thoughtfully and intentionally start to design for how this stuff should look on the web. We can't just take a flat image and make it work. So we started adding new tools, we started to add some features, we introduced some new concepts, and very quickly what we thought was just going to be a small feature turned into its own tool. Now, where Figma design really lets you create for literally any surface, and we really try not to put any sort of barriers to your creative process there, Sites puts a lot of guardrails because it wants you to focus for designing for the web. And this allowed us to take some new approaches to how we sort of could build this tool. Namely, you're going to find that Sites is able to work with code, it can interact with data, and it's going to be responsive by default. Now, Sites still shares a lot of DNA with design. So if you're an expert with Figma design, you're going to feel right at home inside of Sites. In fact, you can pretty much bring everything you've designed up until this point directly into Sites and start to quote-unquote webify it and get it ready for publishing. Now, let me talk a little bit about some of the new tools that we've developed to sort of enhance this sort of flow. The first thing you're probably going to notice, if you guys haven't already jumped into Sites, what are you waiting for, is that we've got a little bit of a different interface. We've really tried to optimize around the types of workflows that you're going to be doing inside of this tool. We have this sort of new left rail, and it sort of establishes these stateful workspaces. One's going to be the canvas, one's going to be sort of this insert panels we're going to talk about a little bit later. But you'll also see some things that are coming soon, like the ability to work with data in CMS, the ability to write and author code, all coming soon, and you can sort of access this from the left-hand side. Now, the canvas, still again, a lot of the same similarities as the canvas you'll see in Figma design. This one, though, is organized by web pages. And inside of those web pages, we have breakpoints, and you can kind of put it all together. We refer to it as sort of your responsive set. So you can kind of see what your design is going to look like across the different screens that you're designing for. I mentioned earlier we've got this insert button that I'm going to kind of dig a little bit deeper into that gives you access to all of your design systems, your libraries, as well as something that's new and unique to Sites called blocks, which are sort of these structural pieces that you can sort of bring into your website to kind of wireframe out very quickly. We also have presets and interactions. So you don't have to fully rely on writing code to make all of your sites interactive. You can actually select from a whole bunch of presets that we've been authoring, and maybe in the future, maybe you can author, to actually add some interactivity to the elements on the page. And of course, there's that somewhat magical publish button that actually will build out your website, keep that fidelity one-to-one for what you've designed from a visual perspective to an interactive perspective, bring it out to the web, and Figma will even host it for you. OK, I think that's enough slides, right? OK, let's get into a little bit of a demo. All right, so I'm product manager, not super great designer, but I'm pretty good. I can make some pretty things. I'm going to design out a site for sort of a fictitious restaurant that Anthony and I are going to be working on. So I'm just going to start by creating a brand new sites file. Now, the first thing you'll see is that we've partnered with Play, the agency, to build close to 50 different templates that you can basically just start with right out of the gate. Some of these templates are good for things like porting over your Read CV, but getting into other things like events, landing pages, other business sort of sites. These are really, really gorgeous. I highly recommend kind of taking a browse through here. I've found a lot of inspiration in grabbing some of these and then really tweaking the design so it kind of looked a little bit more like mine. But for today, we're going to start with a blank site. So the first thing you'll notice is that right off the bat, you're already given a layout set for your home page that has a desktop and a mobile breakpoint. For today, we're going to be sort of designing for the tablet as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add the tablet. But you'll notice I can create as many breakpoints as I need. So we can have lots of them across here from a custom, but we'll go with the 3 standard ones to start. Now, to get going on here, I'm also going to start to leverage some of those ideas around blocks. Now, one of the things about blocks is these are sort of a collection of layers that are implementing a lot of the similar or familiar patterns that you're going to see on the web. So I've got like navigation blocks, I've got some hero blocks, some features and embeds, and I'll come back to some of this later. But we've also taken a bunch of those blocks and just built out entire pages. So if you really want to get a quick start, I could sort of like go ahead and add an About Me page. And you'll see that you're basically going to get a page ready to roll, start to play around, start with the design, start to edit some of the content. But for today, we'll just stick with the one page, and we'll start to add a couple of these components out here. So first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll add a navigation to the header. You'll notice when I add it to the one page, it starts going across. You can determine which is your primary breakpoint. By default, it's going to be the desktop. But whatever basically I add to the desktop and edit on the desktop, those changes are going to be reflected across the other breakpoints. So I've gone ahead and added the navigation. I think I'll go ahead and add a little hero with a call to action here. And then this is a nice feature that's got like a pretty large photo, which would be good for highlighting my restaurant. And of course, I need to help people find the restaurant, so we'll put in a map as well. And then I'll come back around and add a little bit of a footer. So at a high level, I basically have like structured out a page. And this is typically how I like to design, thinking about the content structure first and then coming in and designing. I know it's not for everybody, but that's how I approach it. Now, the first thing I'll show you here is that I can actually start to preview this. And I do hit this button a lot. Once you go into preview, you're starting to see live in HTML, in JavaScript, what this site is going to look like. And I can start to play around with the sizing controls to see how it's going to be responsive as well. You'll notice there's even some animations going on here with around the typewriter effect that was already part of that block that I was working on. But really quickly, I can get a feel of like how this site's going to sort of perform and look across all these different screens. So I'll get in here and start editing some of this. The first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and start changing some of this text. So we're going to make a diner called Dex. So it's eat at Dex's Diner. And let's see.
Oh man, talking about food before lunch.
Best menu across Galaxy. And typing, that's a thing. I'll go ahead and change some of these images pretty quickly. And you'll notice a lot of these tools, especially on the panels, are going to look very, very similar to what you're used to in Figma Design. I'll go ahead and grab, I think, this nice photo of the milkshakes, looking good as well. But let me get in and dig in here a bit more. Ow, weird natural scroll. Hello. OK, so one of the things you'll notice is that now that I've selected this button, over on the other breakpoint, you'll see there's sort of like a little ghost outline that's also selected it as well. That's because we're using multi-edit. So that means, again, any changes I make to the primary is going to actually happen over there. So if I go ahead and change this to sort of order online, and I go ahead and make this one to make a reservation, you can see this content's being updated across all 3 breakpoints and keeping it consistent. But like in this example, it doesn't look super great in the tablet. Probably want to adjust this a bit more. So we give you the ability to do overrides. So here, I'm just editing on the tablet mode. I can kind of change a little bit of what this looks like so I can have a specific design at this breakpoint. Where did my width go? What am I missing? Oh, there he is. I'll just make these all the same. Again, really test this out pretty quickly. Everything's looking good there. Tablet's got that tablet design, and we're looking good back at the desktop. Again, really quick and easy to just start editing this content and starting to make a better designed website. Grab some of this. Nice. I think we're going to have, this restaurant is opening a new location. Is closer than you think. Now, I mentioned a bit earlier that we also have a type of block called an embed. Embed basically lets you bring in any sort of URL or embed code, drop it directly into your site as well. So it's a great way to sort of extend a lot of the functionality without having to think about all the code behind it. We've taken that concept of embed and we've built a couple very specific to like YouTube and Google Maps as examples of what we think we can start to build in the future. This block actually uses one of those embeds. So if I come in here and just select this, you'll actually see that not only is it showing me the HTML that embed code is, but we've also done a little bit of fanciness that I can type in something like Moscone South in San Francisco, give it the location that I want. Let me make the zoom a little closer here. And I should be good to go. So now when I get down to there, I actually get this actually running exactly the way that I wanted it. Thank you. All right. I think that was the engineer who worked on it, but all right, let's go with this. All right, and then last but not least, I'll do a quick little content update, although this is the one I stumble with the most, just to drop that address in. But I mean, at a pretty high level, I mean, I think this is a pretty good-looking design. I think I'm ready to publish, right?
Yeah, I think you're getting close.
Oh, you wanna do some design work on it, don't you?
Let's do a little bit more design. I think we can.
Okay, it's all yours. Everybody, welcome Anthony to the stage, who's going to try to make this look cooler, I guess.
How are y'all doing? Love it. My name's Anthony DiSpezio. I work on the advocacy team at Figma. This is my 6th config. It's so amazing to see you all here. Hope you're enjoying the talks and getting to meet people you haven't met. Go find someone you don't know and say hi. Let's get into more of sites and some design work. So Adam has built a wonderfully stable, well-designed website in that sense, but let's push this a little bit more from the design perspective. So we're actually going to start with one that has a little bit more design to it at this point. Now, to just show you, I'm not doing a now go draw the owl kind of thing. These are roughly the same components we had before. For those who are designers, this should probably feel familiar as to how we got here, in the sense that we still have our hero with our image on the right and our text on the left with our buttons that we have. We still have our main big image down here. We still have our map component and things like that, just a little bit zhuzhed up here. So.
Okay, it does look a little better.
So let's go ahead and use this for the rest of our session. May I get that? There we go. Thank you. Awesome. So first thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about some of the auto layout things that are going on here and new functionality that you can learn from. I'm going to see if we can just give you all a little bit better view here. Hopefully that'll help a little bit. Awesome. Very cool. We saw how fast we can go from a blank page, but one of the big pieces of those blocks that's really helping us with responsiveness, right? We were able to make that very responsive very quickly. We want to do the same things with our own designs. If we had started from our own designs, ideally we're using things like auto layout. Raise your hand, who here uses auto layout? Who here is sometimes incredibly overwhelmed by auto layout? Myself included. It happens. It is very complex. I'm very excited about some of the new grid features too. But you're going to want to know some of the basics, and you're going to want to make sure that you're using auto layout when you're building in sites. Everything is going to rely on auto layout for that responsiveness, right? So I'm just going to actually grab a copy of this component to sort of show you, these layers to show you what I mean. So you can see here, right? This is just a standard frame. It's got auto layout horizontal for the whole frame. There's a secondary auto layout for the content on the left side. There's even an auto layout inside the button so that the button expands with our text, right? Auto layout all the way down. This is going to be valuable because this will give you that inherent responsiveness. If you're already building your designs in Figma with this, you can copy that from Figma, put it right into Sites, and the auto layouts are going to respond as you would hope that they would. In fact, all of this actually came from a design file. So I actually have another design file over here that I was working from. and then drop that into Sites. Cool. So let's move on a little bit here. This is great for, you may have noticed when Adam was actually bringing in those blocks earlier that there was some nice responsiveness that was happening automatically. That's something that's part of blocks. So when you bring in your own designs, there's chances are you're going to have to style those yourself as well, right? So if we go back to our page here, I'm actually going to make a new page entirely just to make this example really clear. So I'm going to go ahead and make 3 columns here. And let's say we're taking part of our design from our design file. I've got this great little lunch, snacks, drinks section that I want to put into my page. And I'm going to come back to our sites file. And I'm going to drop this into our primary view. That didn't seem to do what the other ones were doing. This is because the layers from the design file do not already have that understanding of responsiveness built into them in this view. You might have done it in separate frames, and that's fine. But if you want this to work in Figma Sites, you've got a couple of options here. The first is if you're just working with layers and you just want to do this yourself, you can go ahead and just adjust these on a per frame basis, right? So what we'll do here is we're going to go ahead and actually set these correctly. Let me make sure we've got our auto layouts on. Great, looking good. I can set this to fill container. I can set this to fill container. Better fix that thing. So we can go ahead and select our text, come on down. Please, you can come and yell at me yesterday that I'm not using a design system for this right now, but the other piece that I want to show here is like that's one way to do it manually. However, there is a really cool new feature that we have for components called responsive sets, or responsive components, that we're going to show in just a second as we get through this. Before we come back to that, I just want to show that while we do have auto layout, and we do have the auto layout you're familiar with, we also introduced grid. So with grid, we can now add grid into sites as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just quickly create a a frame over here. Let's do that. And set this to 1280 just so that it's our same width that we were working with before. And I'm going to add a grid. Now we start with a 2-column. Let's go ahead and just bump this up to, say, 5 by 4. Great, looks good. I had some images in my design file, so I'm going to go grab those. We'll come back over here. Yeah, a couple images that I really like. Let's grab those. Put those into our sites file. And I'm going to place these into our grid. So I'm going to grab my first image, put this in the top left. Let's resize this one down a little bit. Looks good. Maybe we'll put this over here on the right. Love it. Looking great. Very quick. Designing always goes this fast. Always. Cool. We have a nice little bento grid that we want to add. We can go ahead and drag this into our page. Again, you're going to notice that you're going to get that responsiveness happening here. Second. Thank you. Advocacy rule, always be hydrating. Okay, so we have our grid here. Again, this is our primary layout. Changes we make in this layout will affect the other ones, but we can adjust the other layouts independently. We can go in, maybe we think this is too many images for our tablet view. Let's go ahead and take a couple out. Maybe we just want to have one larger image here, or maybe we want this one to maybe be 2 smaller images that we had earlier. And likewise, on mobile, and again, be sure to set these to fill, but just to give you a concept of what's going on here. Maybe on mobile, we literally just want 2 images to show up there. Oops, just grab 2. There we go. And you can stretch those out. And multi-edit's going to continue to work with these. You can move the images to different cells. It'll still understand where it is at any part of that page, so you'll be able to grab it here. It's kind of hard to see on the screen, but it's actually got a blue outline around the same image in the mobile view because it's telling you that multi-edit is applied. So, really useful ways to use grid. Remember, Sites is in beta. Parts of grid are still in beta, so it's great for these types of sections and areas. Your mileage may vary if you start to try and build wilder and bigger things. As we all know, same thing can happen with auto layout. It can get a lot to manage and a lot to handle, so just try things out, see what works, test your designs, make sure things are laying out correctly. Okay. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. give it up for the teams. I'm standing on the shoulders of all of the teams that built all this incredible stuff. So yeah, round of applause for them. Cool. Okay. I mentioned earlier that you can have layers for things like this, but we also want to have. We're not always working with layers. We want to work with components. We use components all the time for all different types of things. Not only do we use components, but we also use styles, and we use variables, and we use all this type of really important things that make it easy to connect your design system and scale. You still have access to your design systems in Figma Sites. So we showed the blocks a bit earlier. You can go to the libraries. If you saw the keynote, you might have seen a little bit of this, but you can actually have your libraries that are connected here, and you can grab your components that you need. Your styles will show up in the style picker if you need access to them. You can see over here, we've actually got some of those already loading in. Variables as well, if you want to bring in variables this way, that'll also work. Yeah, it's pretty freaking cool. And this is sort of what Adam was getting at, of like same DNA. As much of the product that we can share across the two, we absolutely want to. There's obviously some clear areas where that's not possible, but just good to know. So we have components. Not only can we have components as we know them today, you can have interactive components, you can have components with variants that are maybe changing because of their state, or changing because of an animation, and you want to smart animate between those two different variants. The new one that you have now is the ability to have variants that actually define which variant is being used across which responsive breakpoint in your layouts, right? I'm going to show you an example of this very quickly. In fact, we can just go ahead and do it with these layers that we have here. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to drag this out like that. So we have a set of layers. You can consider these to be kind of like the layers that we would use for each of those different sizes. We've got them all ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and turn this right into a component set. So I'm going to go to the shortcut to immediately create component set. There we go. We've got a new property, which we're going to call layout. Let's call it layout. Why not? If I can spell. There we go. Cool. Now I'm going to name these desktop, tablet, and mobile. Great. Some of you have probably built components in this way for exactly this purpose. Some of you may have built them in different ways or have been using modes for these types of purposes if you're using variables. There are ways to make all this work. We will have so much content after config to help you get started in learning all of this kind of stuff. For now, we're going to keep it simple like this. What's important was when I put in those words desktop, tablet, mobile, what that is that's matching to the names of the breakpoints that I currently have, so that when I go to drag something from a component, whether from my library or from the canvas, and I put that into our design, it's automatically going to switch those to the right variant to use at that time. Really cool. Really, really cool. I don't know how many of you have also been there just like, oh, okay, I gotta switch the variant, gotta switch the variant, gotta switch the variant, right? Just happens for you now, it's great. If you try to use these things in concert, all these different use cases for variants, much like just within Figma design, nesting interactive components inside of other interactive components inside of other interactive components can lead to some troubles. So please just test things, be careful with it. Try not to go interactive components all the way down if you can, but try it out, why not? Maybe you can do some fun stuff with it too. But just on a practical sense, how and where these things will interact with other types of interactive components. We'll put out some material for you all so you can learn best practices more in the future too as well. Great, okay. Couple other things I want to talk about that are different in Figma Sites from what you might be familiar with in Figma Design. Let's just go back to our page here too so that we've got it. Most of the other properties in the properties panel, you're going to find a lot of similarities to how they work. You might see some slight differences in things like how using constraints work. You'll have some new properties, such as the ability to bind to left and right and top and bottom in a slightly different way, but for the most part, things are going to work as expected. Probably one of the two newer things I want to talk about. First is layout guide. This used to be layout grid, it's now layout guide. From the grids deep dive, they will tell you more about that, but basically it's just a renaming of this feature because we now actually have grid. And lastly, we do have an accessibility section. I want to call out just that. I do want to call out the site's being in beta right now. We understand the importance of this. We understand we have a lot of work to do here. This is an area that we do want to spend more time on, and stay tuned. There's going to be a lot of new features coming in these spaces as well. For today, we do have tags, we have alt text, but again, that's an area that we want to work on throughout the beta period for sites as well. Cool. Let's talk about interactions. We saw some interactions in the keynote demo, right? We saw some of those things we can do. Let's look at a couple of more right now. So probably the most basic interaction that we actually didn't touch on was a link. We want to be able to link to other pages that we have. And the way we do that is a lot like in Figma Design. First of all, adding additional pages, you can hit the W key. You can also just duplicate pages very easily as well. If you just option drag, right, you'll get additional pages that way. The page names are the subpages. So whatever you name your pages will be the names of the subpages on those from the URL of the home page. To create links, you have a link option. Let's go ahead and grab something like this make reservation button, or actually let's grab this About Us button. We'll link to the About page. You can see because of multi-edit, it grabbed the other three as well. You can add links directly from the Properties panel, which is kind of a really quick way to do this, but you can also do it from the Interactions panel as well. So you can just go ahead. You can create a link either by clicking Create Link and then selecting an existing page, or you can type in a URL if you're going to an external site. And you can also do the classic sort of Figma drag out connector lines, or noodles, as we call them, right? So you can hit Shift-E to go into interactions, and then basically just drag them out like that, and you'll get your connections to other pages. So just, again, a lot of similar, familiarity from things you might have seen in Figma Design, but just good to know that these things exist and they're here. For some more complex interactivity, we can add some of the new interaction presets that we have. So I can go in here, let's say we want a nice parallax effect on this. We've got a ton of different interactions that you can pick from. Hover effects, press effects, marquees, things that are dependent on when stuff is in view versus not in view, things that happen as you scroll, really powerful. You might have noticed conditional and set variable. We're not going to cover that too much today, but there's some cool stuff coming here as well. Basically, you can use some of your variables that you have. We'll have more content in depth on how to use this in the future too as well. For today, I'm just going to select scroll parallax, keep it at a good speed. Looks great. Oh, we lost our component. Let's put that back in. Whoop. Good to know where the keys are. There we go. Awesome. Maybe we want to have these things kind of slide into view, let's say, right? So we could maybe just do something like let's have them reveal on scroll when they come into view. Let's have them slide in from the left. Let's not have them replay, because that might get annoying if somebody's scrolling, right? So there we go. You've got all custom animation timings and settings that you can put in here too as well. You can componentize these types of things as well so that they're always within your components. Cool. And lastly, let's maybe grab our images here, and I'm just going to select under our play section here, I'm going to select Lightbox, and just give all these things a Lightbox real quick, right? So they've all got, anytime we click on them and start, no transition. Yeah, let's leave it no transition, I kind of like that. And then we'll click there, great. Let's go ahead and preview our page and see how some of our stuff is looking here, right? So we've got our full layout. We've got a nice little effect here. Fun little thing, I forgot to put fill content on that layer when it came back in. But what's great about working right in Sites is that if I want to make these changes, right, I can come out here, I can say fill container, and I can instantly preview that in HTML again right away, and then publish it. So, pretty fun stuff. We got those rolling in. Yeah, round of applause for that. I mean, that's kind of one of the key elements here, right, is just how quickly you can ideate in real time on your work. I've had the fortune of having access to this for a while, and I'll be sitting there and working on something and realizing that I can literally just pull out my phone and actually have my live website right there, hit publish, hit refresh. It's a great working experience, right? And then to be able to send that URL to someone else, being like, go check this out, go work on these types of things. Which, again, you can do with Figma prototyping, but it's a very different experience when you have that natively in the browser as well. Cool. I think it's time to publish the site. Looking better, you think?
It looks a little better.
It looks different. It looks
different.
Yeah, let's go with that.
In a better.
OK, I'm going to go ahead and publish this site that we have now. I'm going to go ahead and I've actually already published this once, but we're going to hit publish again. Publishing can do a little bit of caching between your publishes too as well. So future publishes will not need to go ahead and republish everything, just changes and things like that. So we're going to go ahead and hit update. This was publishing fast. That was not because I had to like preload it or anything. It's mainly to get the URL in there as well. But yeah, well, OK. It's already done. We've got our new site published. We can just go to config.site. We can check it out. We can view our real code, all of our live HTML that we see here on the side. So pretty neat, I'd say. Couple of publishing settings I want to talk about with you all real quick. We've got the ability to set your site titles. You can set individual page titles as well. You can set your URLs. If we had some issues in our design, you will get linting errors, which is great. So if you have things like maybe auto layouts are not stacked correctly, or you've got some vector issues that we don't think will be renderable or something like that, you'll be able to track all those issues in the linter as well. Let's go into our actual site settings here. Again, of course, you can always unpublish if you need to. You've got your site descriptions and titles. You can set languages for browsers. You can add Google Analytics IDs as well, so you can start tracking data. Favicons, social sharing images. This one's really great, right? And these are really cool because what will happen is you can actually just select items from your canvas. If you don't have one, it'll drop one on your canvas. So then to update your favicons or your social images, you just go to edit your canvas, republish, and you'll have the updated images already in there. We do have a section for custom code. For the time being, this is mainly for things like if you have other tracking or analytics codes that you want to be using. I would say try things out as you want with this. I wouldn't necessarily use this as like a place to inject your own CSS. It's going to be hard to target those layers today, so a little bit less of like a MySpace editing area, and a little bit more of like I have some other JavaScript I just need to run or something like that in the background. But try things out for yourself. Again, custom domains. You can have custom domains here, and these are pretty quick to set up. I would say this one took us maybe about 20, 30 minutes to get this going, which was great. And lastly, again, you can have similar settings on your meta descriptions on a per page basis. So should be kind of helpful there too as well. And yeah, that's kind of the quick tour that we are giving today, just on some of the deeper aspects of site. Please look out for more content from the Figma team, from the Advocacy team, from others. We will have a ton of digital content and live streams and all things like that for you to learn more in the coming weeks and months. So I'm excited to share more with you all as well. All right. Looking pretty good. Adam, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay. All right, back over to the slides. Okay, but there's actually a little bit more. So we wanted to get sites into your hands as fast as we could, hence we got it here in time for config. But that meant we couldn't really get everything we wanted in time. So coming very, very, very soon, we're also going to be able to work with code layers, right? The web is anything but static, and if you're truly going to design for the web, code is probably going to come into play. Sites is going to introduce a new layer called a code layer. Very similar to a visual layer, but everything in that layer is powered by, you guessed it, code. You can start from scratch. You can write code yourself. You can import code that you find online. You'll also be able to pass your designs into sites, and we'll actually convert it to code for you. You can even use, as you'll see in the next session, the ability to use make within sites to prompt the ideas that you want here, to like build some more interactive pieces. And again, what it's going to do is actually generate code layers that then you can go and publish and edit and have a whole bunch of fun with. So all of this is coming very, very, very soon to sites. And if you want to learn more about that, stay put into this hall. The next talk and their 8 speakers are going to get pretty crazy with code layers. But wait, there's even more. As you noticed in the keynote, we talked a little bit about CMS. In the very near future, we're going to introduce a built-in CMS inside of sites. A lot of what you're probably going to want to do is start to integrate content into the sites, and a lot of sites, that's really the whole point. But designing a website is often the fun part. Having to do content updates every time marketing or somebody wants something changed, not so fun. So what we've been designing is a way that you can sort of hand off your designs, you can invite others into the file and have them just work on the content. So they can actually do like a blog entry, they can update content on your homepage, but they can't mess with anything else. So that way you can sort of get out of the loop and saying, hey, I've designed the site, come back to me if you need to make some design changes, but it's up to you to kind of run the rest of it. Now, building a CMS is as simple as just going in and creating a schema, but we've also got a little assistance from AI. Here you can see an example that we've been playing around with where I can prompt and say, hey, I'm trying to create a schema to do like a job link site. It'll actually design the schema for you, and as a bonus, it'll even populate it with some temporary data so that you can actually design with that temporary data. Pretty cool stuff. One of the things that I really like, and we've spent a lot of time on the design, is actually how to bind the data into your design. So here's an example of sort of this bind mode where you can sort of connect that back-end data directly into your design and then work with it live on Canvas. It's a really, really nice workflow. I'm super excited to get it into your hands soon. As a reminder, Sites is available today in a public beta to everybody on a Pro, Org, or Enterprise plan. We are working really hard to bring it to Starter and EDU very soon, so stay tuned if you're waiting for that piece of it. I know a lot of products go out and we say we're in public beta and it feels like, oh, you're just in like basically a final stage and you just haven't charged with, but we are truly in a public beta. We are at the beginning of a very long journey to build out a next-gen web design tool that also can publish to the web. So we're inviting you to join us on Discord, where we sort of set up a server where we can actually interact, we can talk, we can get your feedback, we can tell you what we're working on, what's around the corner, all that good stuff.
And in fact, actually, Adam, if I can interject just for 1 second, one more piece. Could I get the feedback to the demo machine real quick? Hopefully, maybe. Great, thank you so much. Not only can you come join us, people are already in there building sites today, right? So you can actually go in. This was created by Hyo Yi, who is our Friends of Figma lead from Seoul, South Korea, and is, you can see, has already done a whole config website for us, right? So we've got a lot of great content in here, some pretty cool animations and interactions. If you're curious, here's the actual file, right? So it's real easy to start building with this stuff today. I really recommend you all join the Discord and come and build some more sites with us for today. Cool.
Awesome.
Okay, Adam, back to you.
Yeah. So please create a sites file. We'd love to see what you guys are going to build. I'd love to see you push it to the limits. And we'll be at the new product area if you got any questions. Thank you.
Thank you all.